is affecting people in both parties, that we both parties have a responsibility to address it. There should be a national commission, and we can look at concrete things. One, the role that social media is playing in amplifying the most sensational, outrageous content that sometimes incites violence. Second, looking at mental health issues. Third, looking at how we can have intervention when you have someone sick, like the person who was tried the attempted assassination on the president and his cabinet. How do we get earlier intervention? And finally, what are the standards of how we can all do better in our political rhetoric without violating the First Amendment? We want robust speech. People should be able to criticize me, but there's a difference between criticism and the incitement of violence.
So you have Khanna, California congressman, speaking right there about the both sides issues, suggesting a national commission to look into this. There's a difference between having rabid discourse where there is disagreement and the assassination culture that we have now found ourselves in, and it certainly looks like it's only going one side to the other. Let's talk to our friend Joe Concha.
Oh, what you know, Joe.
Joe Concha, Fox News contributor.
Joe Concha back with us. Thanks for being flexible with the weather yesterday. We're glad you can make it with us today here.
Is everything all right there? I hear tornado. You know, that's not here in Jersey.
I think we had like 2 or 3 tornado warnings in the span of our 3-hour show. So we just basically talked about looking out the window. And fortunately for our area, at least, everything. Do you guys get tornadoes in Jersey? No?
Once in a while, but
it's crazy.
They're not as big as the ones out there. Yeah, it's certainly not where I live, near the city. So anyway.
That is our burden to bear here in the Midwest. I do want to talk about the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the obligatory both sides conversation that is happening once again after yet another assassination attempt on President Trump. And the left's immediate reaction in a lot of cases, a lot of high-profile leftists who used to be on television shows and now are all influencers, I guess, on podcasts. And they're all talking about, this could be staged. I mean, we're living in a crazy place in time right now. And the solution that a lot of people are offering now is, both sides could tone it down. What do you think about that?
There is no both sides here. It's I'll say 95-5 as far as left and violent rhetoric and 5% on the right, and nobody prominent as far as I can tell. Look, when you have somebody like Dan Goldman of New York, he once said that Donald Trump needs to be not voted out, eliminated. There is no other way to interpret eliminated outside of assassinate the guy, get rid of him. Rick Wilson, Lincoln Project co-founder, they're still going to have to put a bullet in Donald Trump. That's what he said after Trump began gaining in the polls after he announced he was running for president the first time. Remember, Tim Walz said, you get up in the morning, you're hoping to see some news. And this is when there were some false rumors out there that Trump was on his deathbed or was in bad health. That's obviously Walz hoping that he wakes up to see that President Trump is dead. J.B. Pritzker, your friend over there near Missouri, obviously Illinois, right?
Yes.
Never before in my life I have called for mass protest disruptions. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. Oh, gee, how should I take that? And then obviously what we saw on Friday night from Jimmy Kimmel, which he said, look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
So gross.
And then he has the audacity to, it's gross. And he has the audacity to go on the air last night and say, I was just talking about their age difference. Oh, you were? Oh, okay. So, Jimmy, where was your jokes about Joe Biden? Because there's about a 10-year age difference between Jill Biden and Joe Biden. Yeah, imagine if he said that expectant widow thing about Biden or about Obama, even worse. I mean, anybody for that matter. So
doesn't it matter,
this
Joe?
is now all justified.
Doesn't it matter, too, that the president is now, that we know of, this is the 3rd assassination attempt on his life, and likely many other people who were in between the president and this shooter before he could have made his way into that room. These people, Jimmy Kimmel, they're making these jokes after the president has taken a bullet for his desire to be the president of the United States, to give the American people the opportunity to choose to have him be the president of the United States. They're incredibly coy and very disingenuous. When they make these jokes, they're like, oh, what are you talking about? They're shooting at the president. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, 3 times. Like, as you said, that we know about. There are threats every day. They're probably thwarted, or at least they're able to figure it out before it comes to fruition like it did on Saturday night. And I always think, Annie, that let's say Iran, and probably easy to find, right? find, I don't know, 10 jihadists, right, that are out there that are willing to just sacrifice their own lives. What if 10 people rushed that room? You think one would have gotten through, two, and then it's a turkey shoot from there. I don't know if you ever remember, you ever see the movie Inglourious Bastards with Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
And that scene at the end where they lock the Nazis in that French theater and then they just, kill them all.
Yes.
Like, that's basically what would have happened, because I've been to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. There's only a couple doors in and out of there, and if you're able to, seal them, you're stuck, right? Sure. I mean, it would have been so ugly. And there you have Hakeem Jeffries, right, House Minority Leader, saying we need maximum warfare against Trump. And then asked about it again yesterday, hey, should you dial it down with this maximum warfare thing? He goes, nope, I have no regrets, and I don't give a damn about your criticism. Yeah. So now it's just like, at this point, they're not even pretending anymore they want Trump dead. They do want Trump dead, and they see the polls, including one that came out from Rutgers University last year, Annie, where 55% of those who say they vote Democrat say it would be somewhat justified if someone murdered Donald Trump for the good of the country. So Democrats see that, and they say, all right, let's embrace this whole assassination culture thing. Great.
Joe, I know you're raising kids. I'm raising kids right now.
Yeah.
Is this a different time than I know that we're only living in the time we're living in right now, but it's impossible for me to think about how this looks 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road when my children are raising children. I don't know that we can steer the wheel and rip it back to get back in the lane. I don't really know what happens next.
No, it's normalized, this permission slip for violence. We saw it after Charlie Kirk. We saw that teacher north of you in Chicago, literally on video, putting a gun up to her neck and mimicking Charlie getting shot, and she wasn't even fired. Like, how do you not fire somebody like that? That person's teaching children, and she's celebrating Charlie Kirk being executed at Utah Valley University and leaving two very young kids behind for Erica Kirk to raise. And then Candace Owens is out there mocking Erica Kirk and saying that basically she was complicit after the fact in Charlie's death. I mean, this is all insane stuff. And I think the reason why that so many people are getting away with this, so to speak, like Joy Reid said that not one, not two, but all three of Trump's assassination attempts were staged, which, you could train somebody to hit somebody from 150 yards away in the ear with a bullet without taking off their head. That's totally planned. Yeah. It's just, you apply any common sense. It's because now people aren't working for anyone that could put the brakes on this stuff. Right. So Joy Reid has her own little podcast, puts it out on the internet. It goes viral. She's happy. She's getting more clicks. Jim Acosta, same thing. Don Lemon, same thing. And then even if you're Jimmy Kimmel, well, ABC's run by, a girl named Dana Walden, who's best friends with Kamala Harris. So, of course, she's loving this stuff. He's never going to get suspended. And that's where we are. No guardrails at this point. No filter. Just, I guess it's just almost a civil war at this point. I'm not saying people are going to start picking up guns like the North and the South in 1861, but rhetorically, we're not going back to the days. Let's put it this way. Ronald Reagan, when he was shot at the Washington Hilton, by the way, in 1981, the first person to visit him in the hospital besides Nancy was Tip O'Neill, who was the House Speaker, and said, God bless you, Mr. President. We're all praying for you. And O'Neill and Reagan used to go, have a drink after work just to try to iron out differences. And Newt Gingrich, Bill Clinton, same thing, got a lot done. That's never happening again, as far as I can see, at least from the Democratic side, where Hakeem Jeffries is their leader, and he's saying maximum warfare, and I have no regrets around saying that 2 days after the president was nearly assassinated again.
Yeah, you'd have to have a marquee turning point, no pun intended, in order to make enough people come together and say enough of that. And this is the one thing that I'm paying attention to, and you probably noticed this too in your conversations and everything that you're watching. We are hearing a lot from the left that are saying it's staged, or we're hearing it's a both sides issue. They're not saying, stop it. Don't do this. To the people who hate Donald Trump, knock it off. Don't do it. I don't hear anybody who speaks in a public place with some sort of, Democrat or leftist position to bring to the people's attention. I don't hear any of them just unequivocally saying, you need to knock this off and you need to knock it off right now. There's an excuse, which means they're not justifying it, but they are not calling for it to end.
Right. And Kimmel starts with that whole argument that you're making here, where he said last night, I think vile rhetoric should not happen in this country. But Melania, maybe talk to your husband first before casting stones. It's like, oh, God, enough already, dude. I mean, it's, again, we saw Jimmy Kimmel after Charlie Kirk was assassinated say that it was a MAGA person that carried it out. And then when we had, obviously, he was taken off the air by syndicators saying, we don't want to be a part of this garbage anymore. And, oh, by the way, it's third place, and it loses a lot of money for ABC and Disney. And then just like this time we're seeing this time around, everybody in legacy media takes Jimmy Kimmel's side, right? He's just speaking truth to power. It's just a joke. Again, I would love to see the reaction if somebody ever made a joke like that about Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. That person will be off the air in about 5 minutes.
There'll be people in the streets. We know that. Last question. Josh D'Amaro is the new CEO of Disney. That he's like 4 to 6 weeks in to this new job. I'm not expecting Jimmy Kimmel to lose his job, but if, let's just for a second play out here, what would happen in the industry if Josh D'Amaro said, you know what, Jimmy Kimmel, we're not going to do this. We're going to go a different direction. We're going to either replace you or take your show off the air. What would happen if Josh D'Amaro, the new CEO, would take that tact and move in that direction?
There would be outrage. It would be Josh D'Amaro obviously is controlled by Trump, and Trump wants to censor all of his critics because, for 10 years, Trump gets hit every day, every minute. I think if he wanted to censor anybody, would have got around to that by now. But in the end, Josh D'Amaro would be doing his stockholders a big favor because, again, that show loses a lot of money. It's a distant third place. Greg Gutfeld, obviously Fox News first place. And there would be initial backlash. And then from there, Jimmy Kimmel will be forgotten. He'll go do a podcast with the Don Lemons and the Jim Acostas of the world, I guess. And, everything would be fine. But, if I'm him, I would absolutely do that from a business perspective only, not from a censorship perspective. That's all I'm saying.
It's one action that Josh D'Amaro, the CEO of Disney, could do that would, in my opinion, incredibly impact the future of Disney in a huge way. It would just be a huge signal to, as you mentioned, the stockholders to begin with.
Yeah, either way, before we go, just got back from Disney.
Yeah.
And when a family of four costs $800 a day to do what's called the hopper, where you can hop from one park to the other, Epcot, Disney, Animal Kingdom, $800 a day, Annie.
I know.
I mean, we went for 3 days, and it's like, I don't know how, like, a family of four who doesn't have, I have 3 jobs, my wife has 2 jobs, like, people just have one job and earn, like, a decent amount. I don't know how you afford that. I just don't. It is. American Express is going to have a hitman coming after me. Yeah, go ahead.
They need to get their business back into the business of families, and I think on a broader scale, this country needs to get back in the business of families. And I would just love to see that company make a huge change. Thanks for being with us, Joe. It's good to talk with you.
It's coming. Thanks, Annie. Have a good day.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye. All right, let's take a quick break here. We're watching the People's House. It's as if they're setting themselves up here for a State of the Union address.